Good afternoon, guys. I hope this raptor takes off behind us. You probably can't see it, but this a massive hawk. We think it might be a white-tailed hawk on the rocks behind us. We had the binoculars out here.
Yes, absolutely huge. I hope it takes off, but it's been up there for a while, so we're thinking maybe there's a nest that it's guarding.
Might be nesting for the night. But anyway, we're here to talk about veganism or vegan-based eating or
Yes.
whole foods, plant-based eating, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to talk about how healthy is it, Karen? You're the expert, really. You're my expert.
Well, I'm an expert as far as the research that I personally have done, but I have not done my own research, so I'm not an expert in that manner. But I want to start with that. Whatever lifestyle you want to choose, do your homework, do your research. Don't just say, this vegan thing looks good, I'm going to do that. Or the latest diet that I just heard about is the carnivore diet, and doctors are saying eat only animals. That's it. And
I haven't heard that.
Oh my goodness. So the doctor that's promoting that, I believe he has a book, has zero research, and he's a psychiatrist. And he started with clients that had eating disorders. And he felt that this was going to be a healthy diet for young women with eating disorders.
Well, I guess he doesn't know. Let's not even give him any street cred.
No.
What are we talking about? I've never heard of him.
No, well, most people haven't, but he'll be the next, because what happens is people hear about these diet fads, or these programs. There's so much out there. There's a vegan, there's pescatarian, there's vegetarian, there's this keto thing, there's the 30-day whole. Everybody's writing a book on diets, and the main premise for most of these people is around weight loss.
Okay. And
what we need to focus on is not weight loss.
Right.
That should be a byproduct of healthy living and healthy eating. As Jeffrey will tell you, when he went fully plant-based, he dropped about 15 pounds without trying. It just came off. And it was, I hate to say it, but it's like the visceral fat that you were holding on to from an unhealthy
It's ridiculous
diet.
talk. Ridiculous.
Talk.
But let's go into, because you're right, diets. I mean, when I was a kid growing up and someone was going on a diet, you're right, they were doing it to lose weight.
Right.
What we're talking about has nothing to do with losing weight. I mean, I would just tell you from my own experiences, just eating correctly, and that's eating the right amount, which, for me was a lot less. I grew up, eating too much, I can tell you that. Mm-hmm. But then eating the right foods. If you eat the right amount and the right foods, your body goes back to its natural weight. Like, I've gone back to my high school weight. I'm not doing any hardcore workouts or anything, so it's all about the diet. And when I say the diet, it's the foods we eat. Right.
The lifestyle way of eating is what I like to call it, because diet has this, it seems associated with weight loss.
Like Weight Watchers, I think of a diet. Eat these packets, this is your diet.
Exactly. And diets are not meant to be lifelong process. People that are on a diet, I mean, that should be a temporary thing. And
we're
honestly,
talking about the fads, not
the fad diets.
We
not a life.
Our diet.
We changed our diet, hence the way we eat, hence our lifestyle of eating. And so Jeffrey and I are 100% plant-based eaters. I have been for 8 years, and Jeffrey's been not quite as long, but you've been for a while, and I know that you feel so much better, and neither of us really watch our weight. So let's take weight out of it. But when we do have our physicals, we do ask our doctors to test us.
That's the key. That's what I look for. It's if I drop a few pounds, great, I guess. I'm not looking to lose any weight, but at the end of the day, what's my cholesterol look like? My blood counts.
Your B vitamins, your protein levels, and
blood pressure.
Right. All of those statistics, and they actually they don't normally test your vitamin B levels, etc. We ask for that, and we do pay extra for that. It's not that much money, and our health is worth it. I actually found that I had too high a level of B12, which is quite unusual for someone who eats plant-based. So
but you were taking a supplement. Which,
right.
but that's a great thing to point out, because we hear a lot of people say, "Hey, how do you get your B vitamins?"
Right.
We do take a supplement, and we both do take a drink in the morning that basically you could survive off of it if you wanted to.
You do not need the supplement
on top of that.
On top of a really high quality drink, like Jeffrey and I have. Is that where you were going?
Yeah,
with it? I'm
exactly.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And it's super important to do your homework, because guess what? Oreos are vegan, and I'm not suggesting that people eat Oreos. Pasta's vegan, and I'm not suggesting people eat pasta.
Although I love pasta, that's one of my favorite foods. And sorry, we're going back to the whole premise of this is vegan healthy? And what you're saying is there's a lot of vegan foods that are not healthy, right?
Exactly. Right. I mean, there's probably poisons that are vegan. That's not healthy, and you wouldn't eat them. So what I want to do is, bust the myth that vegan is not healthy, because if you've done your homework and you're eating the right amount of food and the right foods, and by the right foods, again, I'm not talking about the pastas and the vegan pizzas and all of those. What I'm talking about are actual whole foods. You can cook them, you can put them in beautiful spices, you can do so many things with gorgeous, fresh, whole foods, vegetables and beans and fruits and seeds and nuts. There are I'm not saying that's all you have to eat. If you want to have a wine and cheese party, by all means. I mean, obviously I don't say eat vegan cheese every day, but by all means, put out a beautiful spread of nut cheeses, or they have all different variety of almond cheeses, cashew cheeses with wine and nuts and dried fruits. I mean, think about it just like you would think about eating your non-vegan diet, which I will tell you is, the nuts and the fruits are the same, but adding in the real cheeses and the milk, the poultry, the meat, and the fish. What you're adding in with those things are hormones, antibiotics, which is in almost all of the meat and poultry and cheese and milk industry products sold in the United States. I want to clarify, in the United States. Now, I'm not talking about organic or grass-fed, but I am talking about natural. Natural only means that in the last 30 days of an animal's life, it wasn't given any hormones or antibiotics, but it could have had them for the first. Now, in the case of poultry, they now induce them with so many hormones and antibiotics that a chicken that it used to take a year or so to raise, they do in a couple of months, because most people want the breast meat because they think that's healthier. I mean, is that an oxymoron or what, right? So let's just talk about the facts. So Dr. Wareham, what is his, this guy, he lived to be 104. Let's see what his name was. He was a surgeon. Oh, I can't find it.
Well, as she's looking that up, I asked Karen when we first started this thing, I'd like to see some facts. So we dug into Furman's books and all the cures and all the people that he cured by going plant-based. But that was a big one for me. And then also blue zones, you're talking about someone living 100 and change. Lots of people living to be 100, 110 and healthful, and eating mostly plant-based diets and among other things. But did you find
exactly? Yes. So Dr. Ellsworth Wareham, he was a surgeon, a cardiologist. He passed away in 2018 at the beautiful age of 104, and he was vegan, they said, for more than half of his life. And one of the main reasons that he went to that program was he did over 12,000 surgeries, mostly on, people with heart disease, etc. And his philosophy, based on his learnings and research, were that you are not going to die of coronary disease. You are not going to have heart disease if you eat a fully plant-based diet. Now, as far as I'm concerned, just knowing that, isn't that a seatbelt? Because if you eat a meat-focused diet, which some people do, you can rest assured that colon cancer and any kind of heart disease or coronary disease is going to be elevated in your chances there. So sticking back to a plant-based diet, and he is actually from Loma Linda, which is one of the blue zones, and they have one of the largest area population of people that live to be over 100. And I'm not talking about people that are 100 in the home for mom or the home for dad. I'm talking about people that live to be over 100 that are active in their community, that are walking, and enjoying life and mobile. And
in these blue zones, it's a higher percentage of the population living to be 100 and 110. That's what it is, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Higher percentage than the rest of us, right?
A higher percentage living that age, but they're also living healthfully, because a lot of people say, who the hell wants to live to be 100? Well, guess what? I want to live to be 100. I'd like to live to be 104 or longer if I'm going to live the way that he did. And basically, he retired from surgery at 75, but he didn't retire from work until he was 95. And he became the consultant for the surgeon, so he still had a very important job, and he'll always be remembered in that community for all of the incredible work and advice that he's given to people on eating plant-based and heart disease, because he's seen it literally from the inside out.
Right. Well, I get the Blue Zone newsletter, which is a lot of great stuff in there, and I post a lot of stuff out on LinkedIn and elsewhere. But I just saw one recently. I think I might have seen it today or yesterday. I posted it, but it was basically the same story I had. This woman had heavy cholesterol and things like that, and they wanted to put her on statins, and she said she didn't want to go on the drug. And she went to a 100% plant-based diet and cleared herself of all the issues. And that's my story. If you look at my video, No More Ham is what it's titled. But that's when I actually went there. I was on the road quite a bit, eating all the wrong foods. But that's what we used to do. And especially me being on the road for business, we go to steakhouses and whatnot. And I went down to have my annual physical, and it was the numbers were terrible.
Terrible.
No surprise.
And again, we weren't doing our research.
I didn't know any better back
on that. Now, I will say from the beginning, I never gave our children any type of animal products in the home that had any kind of hormone or antibiotic, because it's always available without. Now, with that being said, I personally don't bring any of those products into our home, and have not, and will not. I choose not to, because in addition to the health minded aspect of it, it's obviously better for the planet. The emission gases that are produced from the horrendous conditions that most farmers, and I don't want to say all farmers, because there are some very ethical farmers out there, shout out to you, and you know who you are, but most farmers and most people in the dairy industry and the meat industry and the poultry industry put these animals in deplorable condition and treat them terrible, and they're doing a great disservice for our planet. So there's that aspect, which is really,
you're into a whole nother area that's even outside of health, but
exactly.
Right?
And then, as Jeffrey said, obviously it's better for the animals, and I don't want to talk about that, because the topic, and it doesn't really matter our take on that. What matters is, and this is the conversation that I want to always have with anybody who wants to talk to me about it, the only thing that matters are the facts that are directly related to a plant-based diet and longevity and health. And there are two doctors that are doing long-term studies, Dr. Ornish, and I can't think of the other doctor's name, but if you look that up, they have done so many studies. And Dr. Furman's patients, he's got patients that he's worked with for 20 and 30 years.
Right.
And I would take that if he was able to put somebody who was an unhealthy carnivore onto a plant-based, and he makes people go 100% when he takes them on as clients. And he has seen them be cured of diabetes, be cured of coronary heart disease, be cured of certain cancers. It's just, it's, to me, it's like wearing a seatbelt. Why wouldn't you do that?
When I read that book, because Karen was pretty high on it, I read the book, and when I finished it, I put it down and just said to Karen, if half of this is true, I'm going plant-based. And that was probably just around when I had my own issue with the statins and cholesterol is up and all that stuff. So I did it for my own reason, and I got to tell you that reading the facts and figures from someone else, obviously a doctor that's thousands of patients, I can just tell you, number one, numero uno here, I've been through it myself. I saw it. I saw all of the cholesterol and all of the bad things leave my system. I saw, some weight shed off that I really wasn't trying to get rid of, but it was
But you don't need, right? No one needs extra weight.
So yeah, it just happened to me personally. I really don't need to do much studying. Right. But the point is, that's a great book. I think we should put those in the link down below.
I love this book. And
link, right?
Absolutely. And, that's a great point, Jeffrey. Just because I went 100% plant-based, I never forced that on anyone around me, including my family. What I did say is when we're at home, I will always cook only plant-based. But
not in the beginning.
No.
In the beginning, you were plant-based. I'd come home and I'd want a steak, and you'd put a steak.
Right. I'd say maybe the last, half 4 or 5. I've been vegan since.
I'm going back quite a ways because I don't want to make it sound like Karen's not the only one that does the cooking. I'm actually a pretty good cook. She's really trained me well. I do a lot of my own cooking, but
yes,
back when I'm coming home from work and if I wanted to have a steak, you would throw it on and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
But no, you wouldn't do that anymore. But
no, I wouldn't. I actually won't even allow anybody to bring non-plant-based foods into my home. So, and I think that's fair.
Yeah.
We go out to dinner with other people and they can order whatever they want. That's the beautiful thing about America. We have the choice to decide whatever it is that we want. Freedom of choice, freedom of everything here. So, if anybody wants to talk to me about it, I will always point people towards the facts. And, I can tell you in the past 8 years for myself, it's been an amazing experience. I used to have this, I can only describe it as a buzz. I would wake up in the morning and I'd feel like I didn't get a minute of sleep. And I had this really heavy feeling and sort of this buzz. And of course, then I would immediately think, oh, I must need breakfast. And I would have an American breakfast and I would just feel worse, almost like I wanted to take a nap and or eat more. And that's another thing is, we are talking about eating a healthy vegan diet. Again, not pastas, breads, Oreos. And I'm not saying never have those things. If you want those things, feather them in, now and again, but the staple of your, diet should be organic, whole foods, and then prepared however you like to prepare them.
Right, and that's the key, whole foods, plant-based, and you need to focus when you, just like it says, whole foods, plant-based, so they're plants, but they're whole. They're not ground up, they're not processed. So that's when Karen talks about a pasta again. I love my pastas, but at the end of the day, they're not whole foods. They are obviously wheat or...
You love chocolate too.
And,
you managed to feather in a really nice, high-quality vegan, chocolate, and you just have a small piece.
Yeah. You just don't eat that solely, right?
Eating is not a sport. It is really here to sustain us in a healthy way so that we have a long, healthy, wonderful life. I love this guy. I want to make sure that both of us are around for a long time together, healthy, right? So that's super, super important. And if you have any questions or comments, this is it's a very controversial topic, and that's why I like to stick with the facts. Sometimes we'll get a link to, I saw one the other day out on LinkedIn. It was a study against, I don't even know if it was against being vegan or was vegan really healthy. And it was so ridiculous when you read these articles, it even said in it, there's no validity to this. So you need to go out to the medical journals or the doctors who have proven facts. And I also want to say, I've had plenty of people say, well, I tried it and I couldn't get enough protein. Well, first of all, unless you've been tested, you have no idea.
Right.
And it's very easy to get plenty of protein. Or I tried it and it, I was just tired or it didn't work for me. Again, these people aren't doing their research. They're not finding out all of the foods that they need to eat. You can't just have, vegan food. You need to have a really beautiful variety. And I do think it's really important because of what man has done to man and women, because of what humans have done to the soil, way back, many, many years ago, you could actually get vitamin, I think the B vitamins from your plants, but it's no longer available in our soils. So we do have to have a drink supplement. I've got one I love.
It's a pill. You can do a pill as well.
Or a pill. The beauty of the drink is that you can get a lot of other things in a drink, including if you're worried about protein, right? Including some extra pea protein is our favorite. That's the one that we tout and highly recommend. I don't have anything against the other plant-based proteins, but pea protein for a drink is really the one that you and I prefer. And you can get, if you need, EPA or DHA, which a lot of people will take fish oil for. There are plenty of vegan options for that. So again, do your research. Don't quit just because you tried something and didn't do it well. That's like saying, well, I tried tennis and, I wasn't good. Well, I mean, how many times did you try it, and did you try it with anyone who might be able to give you some pointers?
Well, let me throw this in there too about research, which, I think, yes, do your research, but as I said, do it for yourself.
Absolutely.
And just, be your own guinea pig, if you will. And, just do it for 6 weeks. That's what it took me, by the way, when I turned that thing around, the blood test where they said, hey, you got to go on statins. I said, I'll be back in 6 weeks and ate nothing but plant-based. So do your own test. But, when you say that, people say, hey, I tried it, didn't work for me, they aren't really committed. We've talked about this on other videos on manifestation and things like that. Whether it be your healthful lifestyle and how you eat, or the relationship you have with your significant other, manifesting a great life. If you want to be out here in the Arizona desert, you want to be in Maui, wherever it is, on a ski slope, all of this stuff, it's so easy to say, hey, sorry, I tried that out, I couldn't do it, it's not for me, it didn't work. I would tell you that you probably didn't really want it. So, someone that comes back and says, hey, the diet didn't work for me, I needed to do something else, I just couldn't do it, they really don't want to do it. So, and we're not, this video is not about trying to convert people.
Definitely
we just want to talk about healthy versus non-healthy vegan eating. And, we can share, what we're doing is trying to share our statistics and our findings. We don't know it all. I'm quick to say to everybody, I try to say this all the time, we try to learn something new every day.
That's why I hope people will post new information, because we do love to learn new information, especially, around this topic. And again, if we can keep it based on the health factor, that's more important, as opposed to, we already know the deal with the planet, and you can decide if you have the passion for the animals or not. So we don't need to discuss that. It's the facts that we really want to talk about. And I want to add in there as well, if you're going to do this, do it 100%. And while you're doing that, try to get rid of all of the other toxins in your body, because what happens is, initially, your body's going to go through a slight detox of if you are a person who eats a lot of processed foods, or if you are a person who eats a lot of animal products. Most of those animal products, like I said, have hormones and antibiotics in it that, these kids, if you look around, you wonder why all these young girls have breasts and are getting their period at 9 years old. I mean, they should be getting them when they're going, right when they're going into high school, not at 9 years old, when it's so difficult to see, because their minds
What are you saying that causes that? It's the hormones that we pump into animal products.
Pump into the animal products, and we feed our children. And so these young babies have bodies like women, and they don't know how to deal with it, because emotionally they're not there. So, for those of you, again, do your research, make sure you're going to feed your family a well-balanced plant-based diet. But if you don't want to do it for yourself, maybe do it for your family, do it for your children. And again, I am 100% plant-based, but I am also very, very committed to buying organic food whenever I can. And people will say, well, it's a little more expensive. Aren't you worth it? Aren't your kids worth it? I mean, if you have to question that eat less and spend the money on good quality food. And while you're at it, make sure that your laundry detergent isn't toxic. You're not using dryer sheets, which causes cancer. And if you're using a toxic laundry detergent, you're just putting toxins back into your body. You're not going to feel good no matter what you're eating.
Dryer sheets. I was at a golf tournament and in the Northeast.
I love this story.
The bugs were just incredible, brutal. They're just like eating you alive on the course. So at the club, when they were sending us off, they gave everybody a dryer sheet. I'm like, what's this for? Stick it in your hat or in your collar. The fumes that it gives off, none of the bugs will come near you. So, why would you put that on your clothes? I always thought that was crazy.
Exactly.
Right?
It's crazy. And I will also say it is a brand new year. Make sure that you schedule your physicals. And why don't you try doing a healthy plant-based program for the 6 weeks.
The 6-week challenge.
And make sure that they test your protein levels and your B vitamins, etc. Jeffrey and I always make a date of it, and we look forward to it because we go in there and the doctors are always amazed at how incredibly healthy we are. We've got super low blood pressure, and they'll ask, are you athletes? It's like, no, we're plant-based eaters. In fact, we don't even belong to a gym. Right. We do climb these mountains back here and we ski a lot, so we take advantage of the outdoors. Right. But anyway, I can't wait to hear the results of your physicals after going plant-based for 6 weeks. Wishing you great health, abundant happiness, and outrageous love from Scottsdale, Arizona.
Go ahead and click off. I think you subscribe over here on the circle. We'd love to have you guys on board.